Hi, welcome to or welcome back to my channel. Let's discuss my April wrap-up. So I managed to read 10 books this month, despite having a full 2 weeks where I couldn't pick up a book. Like, I just did not care about anything that I tried to read. But I did luck out and find some things that I really enjoyed, so let's go over those. The first thing I read was How to Fail at Flirting by Denise Williams. This is her actual, I think, her debut novel. And I had read her other one first, The Fastest Way to Fall, and really loved that, so I picked this one up. This one's about Nia Turner, who's a professor at a college. I think it's in North Carolina. I can't remember. She is trying to get over an abusive relationship that she was in, and that she was really quiet about. Like, she didn't really tell her friends what was going on. They just knew her boyfriend was shitty. They didn't like him. You know, that kind of thing. She's trying to be more open and more spontaneous, and so her best friends are like, let's go out to a bar one night, let's just see what happens. They both ditch her for actually important reasons. Like, no, they're not actually like, oh, let me send you out here by yourself. Like, things are happening. She meets this guy, Jake, at the bar. They decide that they're only going to tell each other basically their first names. They don't want to talk about work or anything, and they spend this wild evening together. And then they continue to see each other, and you just kind of go from there. Naya's got some things going on at work. Her ex is also a professor. He does not work at her school anymore. But, I should say university, because she's not like an elementary school teacher. He's working at a university anymore, but he keeps kind of popping up in name, and then eventually he physically pops up, and it's kind of, you know, disconcerting in that way. And she's trying to save her department, because she's like, clearly cuts are happening, like, we're having all these meetings, like, something's going on. Jake says he's in town for a wedding. He also is a business consultant of sorts, and that kind of plays in to the whole university thing and adds some twists and turns, if you will, to the story. But it was really great. I will say there are some strong content warnings for abusive relationships, because you do get a lot of flashbacks of Naya's relationship with her ex. But also there's a scene towards the end that if you've ever been in a situation where you have been attacked or nearly attacked, like, it may trigger you. It doesn't get to the point of the R word, but, you know, you definitely get like that heavy feeling in your chest. Lots of, you know, like trying to take in your breath as you're listening to that scene or reading that scene. So take care of yourselves there if that's the thing. I honestly think when you get to that page, you can skim over it and move on. I don't want to say it's not integral to the story, because it does publicly show who that man is in a way that hadn't happened before. But yeah, you could skim past it, or if you are listening to the audio, I think if you fast forward by like 45 seconds or a minute, depending on what speed you're listening to, it should let you get past that. So, but overall, it was a really great book, and I really enjoyed the story. Next, I read The Book of Cold Cases by Simone St. James, which I gave 4 stars, but you know what's so funny is I can't remember jack shit about it now that I'm sitting here. I know there's a woman who works in a dentist's office that's like obsessed with true crime, runs a website called The Book of Cold Cases, and she's trying to figure out if this woman in her town actually did murder the men that she has been acquitted of after she was accused of it. And so it's basically her doing just a lot of irresponsible scenes with that. And then, of course, because there's Simone St. James' book, there's a lot of ghosty business happening, like actual ghosty business happening. So if you're into paranormal thrillers, this may be your jam. So after that, I read Ava Lee's The Good Girl's Guide to Rakes. This book came out in February, I think, and I had an arc from NetGalley, and I just now finally got around to reading it. I really enjoyed this book. Basically, it opens with these people are at a wedding, and it hasn't happened yet, and the groom is talked out of marrying the bride. And not because there's anything wrong with her, but it's about him. Like, they're all kind of known as rakes and scoundrels around town. She is this sweet young woman, and basically their parents sit them down after the wedding and are like, y'all gotta stop fucking around, using our money to gallivant around London, doing the dumbest shit. You have a year to get married, or you lose everything. And all three guys were like, I'm sorry, what? We have a year to do what now? You want me to get married in polite society where I have not been welcomed because I have been very unpolite for this whole time? And they're like, yeah, you have a year, figure it out. So Kieran not meets Celeste. They've known each other, the Kilburn family, and I think Kieran's last name is Ransom. They're the two families that put this ultimatum down. But not for Celeste, but specifically for Kieran, his brother, and then Celeste's brother. And Kieran goes, well, the best way for me to get back into polite society is to try to get Celeste to let me, go to things with her. And if I'm on her arm, then people will think that I'm this polite gentleman, or that I've been turned around to become this polite gentleman. So he basically brokers this plan with her that she'll take him to events throughout the summer so that he can meet a woman during is it courting season? Is that what they call it? They always call it like the season, and there's always balls and things like that happen during that time. It's basically summer. And then she goes, okay, but while you do that, I want you to take me to the seediest spots in London that you like to go to, because I'm tired of being this prim and proper lady. And then, of course, because this is a historical romance, her going to this spot becomes a problem. She's kind of betrothed to this guy that she can't stand, and she feels like she has to marry him because her dad's like, well, we're new money, you need to solidify our status by marrying old money, basically. And so, chaos ensues. If you like historical romances that have more of a, feminist element to them, I would recommend. Whew. Oh my god. If you like historical romances that have more of a feminist element to them, I would definitely recommend this. The guys in this book come up with a very creative way to help Celeste through her debacle, so that way she's not ruined. And I really just appreciated the way that I don't want to say take care of her, sounds, I don't know. But they do. They take care of her so that way she can keep her reputation and that she can continue to do things that she loves, be with who she wants, etc. So I was clearly on a romance kick to get me back into reading, and honestly, it usually works. Next I read Fool Me Once by Ashley Winstead. Yeah, the same Ashley Winstead who's the thriller writer. Yeah. Her romance was a 4-star book for me. It was really good. It's set in Austin, which, I live in Dallas area, love visiting Austin, so it was nice to, hear them mention places that I have been, things where I know exactly where they are. That's always a fun thing. So it's about this woman, Lee, who after graduating college, she still hangs out with her 4 best friends. She helps run a electric car company that's basically Tesla adjacent, if you will. And she has had series of heartbreak in her life, starting with her father cheating on her mother. And then each of her boyfriends have kind of let her down. What is happening with this lighting? Light me up. There we go. And so she's just had a series of heartbreaks in her life, like I said, starting with her dad, who cheated on her mom, and then she's had boyfriends who've cheated on her, or just have not been honest about what they want out of the relationship. And so she's very much a one-and-done kind of girl now. She's like, you know what, one-night stands are it for me. I'm gonna become my alter ego Stoner. Her last name is Stone, so she's like, after work, it's Stoner's time. She can do what she wants. Her ex, Ben, comes back into town. They were together in college, didn't work out. One of the heartbreaks she attributes her behavior to. Ben comes in and he decides, I'm going to work with the governor, because he says that his life goal is to make Texas one of the greenest liberal states that he can, basically, in meaningful ways. And one of those ways is renewable resources and things like that. And so he's like, yeah, I'm going to come in here and try and green up Texas after having been in California for a while. And so basically it's once was lovers to enemies to maybe lovers again. Kind of a story. I don't want to tell too much more because it's gets kind of spoilery, but it's fun. if you like, I don't want to say political intrigue, because there's not like heavy political stuff in here other than like them trying to get stuff for their bill. But so it has that kind of fun element, so that way there's something else kind of guiding the story along, other than just the romance, and it was a really fun ride. Okay, so after that, I went back to historical romance because I just can't get enough. And I read A Lady's Guide to Mischief and Mayhem by Amanda Collins. This one was about this woman who's a newspaper columnist. Her name was Lady Catherine Bascom. And she decides that she's going to inform the ladies of London about a killer that's been on the loose. And basically her premise is, you want us to be these like ladies who dote on our husbands, and you know, we go to court, we do these things, and we're just here to be pretty because you want us to keep us away from the ugly things of London. She's like, but we also should be able to protect ourselves if we're, you know, going out shopping or whatever, and there's this killer on the loose. And so she decides that she's going to write a column called The Lady's Guide to Mischief and Mayhem to tell them about it. So she inevitably gets involved with the ongoing case and decides Scotland Yard's not doing their job, so I'm going to try and figure these things out. And she goes and she speaks to this woman who I think was a sex worker, or maybe just like adjacent. I can't remember what she was doing specifically, but I just remember it being a big deal that she went to talk to this woman in this seedy part of town. And so it's her doing that. And then she decides to leave and go to like a country house somewhere with her friends after she thinks that she's solved the case. And this detective comes along who was the original one on the case that she kind of embarrassed. And things happen. People die. Some love happens between, you know, some people you didn't think was going to happen between. And it's a romantic murdery time. 10 out of 10 recommend. So after that, I read Sundial. And I made a whole vlog about Sundial, and I was very vague in that vlog. Partly just because they're so hard to talk about that story without spoiling so much of the content. I don't know how to even talk about it now that I think about it. Ooh, lost my phone. So I read Sundial. I don't know if I enjoyed it. I haven't rated it on Goodreads yet. I think I'm going to give it 3 stars, actually. I'm sitting here rating it right now. This book was like 2 very different books. So the first half is this woman and her daughter, or I guess it's a family of 4. Her husband's a serial cheater. She can't stand him. They're fighting over, like she randomly says, like, I'm just going to take the girls one day and leave. And he's like, you know, number 1, you can't do that. And 2, I'll track you down. And it's very toxic. Not mildly, it's abusive. And then her daughter, Callie, has these drawings in her room. And the drawings are of animals, but the animals' bones are on the back. And Rob's like, oh my god, like, I gotta do something about Callie. I don't want her to hurt my other daughter. And Rob is kind of seeing things from her past in Callie. The second half is more so about Rob's backstory of living on a compound, kind of, in the Mojave Desert that they called Sundial. Her dad basically built it with his wife, and her mother died when she was like 4 or 5, so she doesn't really remember her. And her twin sister tells her a lot about their mother, despite the fact that she's like 3 minutes older than her, and that part kind of made no sense, but whatever. And weird shit happens on Sundial. They raise these dogs and do these weird tests on them, and you're not really sure why. And you kind of get this back and forth because Rob in present day also brings Callie to Sundial. And, I don't know, crazy shit goes on from there. I don't want to talk about it because it's literally going to spoil a lot. But, yeah, there's plenty of child and animal abuse in this book. Not like, you're not beating the kids or anything, and there's not, oh, actually, I guess she smacks her a couple times. But there's not anything like super, super gruesome. It's more conceptually gruesome, if you will. There's medical testing involved. That's the part that really just goes, ugh, so much is happening. Yeah, I would maybe read the Goodreads reviews to see if it's something that you actually want to embark on. It was fine. I don't know. It wasn't great. It was more so just so out there, I think, and that's what made it seem like it was going to be something, and then like it just didn't execute. Okay, so the next thing I read was Sleeping Giants, which is the first book in the Themis Files series by Sylvain Neuvel. This is incredible. I've read sci-fi here and there, but not a ton. I absolutely love this, and actually I have the other 2 books at home right now, and I'm going to finish them probably this week. This series is so fun. So it's about a girl named Rose who is riding her bike near her home in South Dakota when she falls through the earth. She wakes up at the bottom of a square hole, its walls glowing with intricate carvings. But the firemen who come to save her peer down upon something even stranger, a little girl in the palm of a giant metal hand. 17 years later, the mystery of the bizarre artifact remains unsolved. The object's origins, artifacts, are architects, and purpose unknown. But some can never stop searching for answers. So Rose Franklin is now a highly trained physicist leading a top secret team in to crack the Hans code. And so it's basically Rose, a team of scientists, this weird benefactor who, like, you figure out through, like, interviews is kind of playing God with this team and with the government. Lots of political intrigue, lots of are there aliens or aren't there kind of moments. Sorry, I'm trying to get this lighting back. There we go. It's a wild ride, and it goes by so fast. I'm enjoying it so much. I love the idea of aliens or some other civilization having left us technology, and now we have to figure out what to do with it, which is basically what's happening. I can't really give too much more about the story because it'll give it away, but the incredible series. 10 out of 10 I recommend. It's only 3 books long, and none of them are long. I want to say they average between 275 and like 350 pages. So definitely recommend reading that. And so then the next 2 things I read were thrillers. I read In My Dreams I Hold a Knife by Ashley Winstead. I also gave this book 4 stars, and I don't know if I liked it more or less than the romance. They was just so different. But I'm a sucker for a school-based book. It's about these 6 friends who come back for a college reunion about an unresolved murder of their friend. That's not the reason why, but that's the whole premise of the story, is basically they call themselves the East House 7, and there are these 7 friends total. One of them has died during college, and you get simultaneous timelines between what happened while they were in college and then them at their reunion with the dead person's sibling is the one trying to drive to get the answer because he just hasn't been able to function basically since his sibling died. And so he's trying to figure out which of them killed her because the way the person died, like, you had to know them to get into the space in which they died, so it couldn't have been like a stranger. And so it's a wild ass ride. The audiobook exists now. That's how I read it. Such a good time. I really struggle to get in the physical book. If you're picking up a physical copy and you're like, why does everyone love this? Give it 100 pages. You have to get past the initial like 50 pages, and then it gets like you're off to the races. It's a great time. Perfect flight book, beach read. 10 out of 10 recommend. Next, I read one of the craziest books I've ever read in my life, and it's called Confessions by, let me see if I can pronounce this author's name correctly, Kane Minato, and it was translated by Steven Schneider because Kane Minato is Japanese and wrote the book originally in Japanese. This book is crazy. So you open up with this teacher talking to her class about how her daughter died. Plot twist, some of the kids in the class killed her kid. Her kid was like 4 years old. Child dies on school grounds. And the book, I want to say, is only 4 to 6 chapters. I think it's 6 total. Each chapter is, like, if you're listening to the audio, is like an hour long. And so you get these, basically, points of view from the mother of the child, the 2 people responsible for her death, one of those people's mothers, because both the people responsible for her death are minors. They're like 13 or 14. They're like middle school children, like 8th grade. Excuse me. And then the mother of the child again. Excuse me. Oh my gosh. Wild. Like, the fact that you could just sit in your classroom and accuse your students of murder, and then say you're not going to go to the police, and that you're going to do something to put their I guess, vengeance for your daughter in your own hands. I couldn't stop listening. I didn't get jack shit done yesterday. This book was incredible. 10 out of 10 recommend. Please go read it. It's not for the faint of heart if content warnings about like harm to children, child psychos, things like that. I wouldn't say that there was anything for the most part that was too shocking or too like, oh, that's too far kind of, because listen, we have child murderers. Things happen. Now, I mean, like in real life, obviously, is what I'm trying to say. It's like not that the story like took too many liberties. Like, no, we have child murderers. So I don't know. It seemed kind of not tame, but it could have gone very like aggressively in one direction, and it didn't. It was a ride. It was a ride. And then the last book, which took me literally the entire month to read, mostly because I struggled to get a copy of the audiobook that actually functioned, because Libby is still using overdrive files somewhat, and some of those are literally like ancient versions of MP3s that you can only run on like your computer if your software is like 5 years old, which is shitty, but whatever. They finally got the correct version of the audiobook and uploaded it. That was The Wedding Crasher by Mia Sosa. This was my most anticipated read of the year. I don't want to say it disappointed me, but like it didn't live up to my own personal hype, which I tried to tamp down but struggled to, just because it's been so long since we've gotten a new Mia Sosa. This is about Solange Pira and Dean Chapman. Solange is at Dean's wedding. She basically crashes the wedding, not like in, oh, I'm gonna stop it kind of a way, but her cousin, one of them's a wedding planner, the other one was a makeup artist or florist or something, and she's just there to help them. But she overhears Dean's bride professing her love for one of the groomsmen, and then later, you know, they do the whole speak now, forever hold your peace, and Solange is like, girly pop, you can't marry this man, you're in love with the other one, like, what are you doing? You can't do this. And she's like, oh my god, you're right, thank you so much, and she like just dashes. And everyone's shocked, except, plot twist, they weren't in love. They weren't marrying for love, they were marrying for convenience, because Dean has a mental checklist of the way his life is supposed to go, and getting a wife who's also a go-getter was on that list. He told the girl he was marrying, like, listen, we're compatible, we're friendly, we're this, we're that, but we don't have to, you know, we don't have to, you know, be in love or whatever in this way, and whatever. Well, Dean's wedding gets broken up. He's not really that upset about it, but he goes to work like a week or two later, and they're like, hey, we're going to be courting this like hot lawyer that's coming up that we're trying to get at our firm. It would be a big get. We want you and this other dude who are you're both competing for partner. This is your opportunity to show out. And the guy that gives him the assignment is like, well, Dean, I don't know if you can do this with your recent, you know, personal drama. And Dean's like, actually, I'm dating this girl. Plot twist, she was at my wedding and broke up my wedding. But we've been friends for a long time, and like, you know, we didn't expect it to go this way, but here we are, we're dating. So he tells the dude that he's dating Solange before Solange knows that this fake dating plot is happening. For whatever reason, she agrees to it, and then, you know, it's a fake dating story, so then real dating is gonna happen, and it's hot, it's steamy, there's a lot of will they, won't they moments, there's a lot of, oh my god, just kiss her, you know, like, or open your mouth hole and say how you feel kind of things going on, but it was fun. It was a good time. I gave it 4 stars. I'm amazed, I haven't had any 5-star reads this month. I think everything I read was either 3 or 4 stars. Yeah, everything except Sundial was a 4-star book. So, pretty solid reading month. I just wish I had something that I was like, oh man, this is spectacular. Yeah, I don't know why I didn't give Confessions 5 stars. I think part of it was, there were a couple of things that happened where I was just like, that felt convenient. And not that that always means a full dock of the star, but just the way some other things were going, I was like, I don't know if I want, or if it feels like 5 stars to me, because I'm not stingy with that. Like, I will throw 5 stars out if it's 5 stars, but it just wasn't. But that's okay. Pretty solid reading month. Excited to see what happens in May. I'm gonna definitely be moving some of my April TBR books over to my May TBR, and you'll see that in the next video. Because like I said, couldn't read for like 2 weeks straight, and I just really struggled. So, hopefully this next month I won't have a drought in my reading. But until then, I will see you in another video soon. Goodbye.